Okay, we'll get started. Happy New Year, everybody. Julia Cooney, delighted to see everybody today or this evening. It's been a historic day. We have, so if any of you got a chance to watch the transition today, Happy New Year. We have a great agenda today. We are going to go through just some general PTA business, and then we are going to focus on the topic is curriculum. And delighted to have three guest speakers with us to talk about that today. So we'll get into that in just a minute, but we'll start with our regular school business. So wanted to first say we have teacher grants are posted out on the PTA website, so we're delighted to have all that out there now, so that you can see what grants are being offered and how things are moving along. So delighted to have that posted out on our PTA website. We have First Friday gift raffles that are happening. The teachers are really appreciative of those when they happen. We had 14 or 15 gifts raffled off in December. I think we had 11 or 12 last week for January, and we have up to 20 spots available for February, March, April, and May. So you can get out to the Sign Up Genius. It's out on the PTA website. You can find it out on the Seaholm website. So how that works is that Seaholm staff, all their names are put into one big bucket, and they get pulled every month, and they get to run down to the office. Now they'll be there in person since we're back to school, and they get to pick one of the gift bags that are there with gift cards or items and the like. So delighted that we have that continuing to go on. So please make a point. You can also Venmo if you'd like to the PTA, and we will go out and get gift cards for the teachers. So that's another option. So that's always something you can do. If I can figure out here in a minute how to share my screen, I did want to share the Reflections program, the Art Reflections program. We had two students who had winning, and they will go to the state level. Sarah Patterson for a drawing and Evelyn Wilson for a painting. So if I can figure out here how to share my screen, I will have you get a chance to see. Well, here's our overall agenda, just as a little bit of background. So we're going to do PTA business. Kyle will talk a little bit about back to school. As I said, we have three guest speakers, Kristy Fekaris, who's the department chair for our counseling department, David Brooks, who is the principal for BPS, virtual learning and the Lincoln Street Alternative High School, and Hallie Snyder, coordinator for career and technical education programming. And they're going to talk to us about high school curriculum. So we're delighted about that. We have PTA representatives, teacher representatives that I did want to call out and give a shout out to. Vittoria Barbari, Jane Laban, and Dawn Whitehead. So thank you, all three. Really appreciate your involvement in working with the PTA. We have not had teacher representatives assigned in past years, and so they're going to be giving us some feedback as to what the teachers are really looking for as it relates to the PTA and the PTA's role. And we'll be working with them on some teacher appreciation activities as well as other needs for the teachers. This is the First Friday gifts for the teachers. So you can see some of the gift bags and the different things that people have put together. And that's the group that was given out in January. So we're delighted to have those. The Reflections program, as I mentioned. So this is artwork. There's artwork, there's film, photography, but these are the two artwork components. They're evaluated on Because I Matter, and the student gives a statement as a key component, creativity and technique. Susan Owens is the youth program director at BBAC. And so wanted just to share with you, this was my ballet feat, and this is Sarah Patterson, who is a senior this year. She's both she dances as well, but she's also an artist. So I think she was feeling her feet as she did this piece of artwork. It's beautiful. And then we have Evelyn Wilson, a junior, and this is her piece related to where we spend our money and how best we spend our money, and local shopping and to our local businesses. So want to give a shout out to both Sarah and to Evelyn, and we'll have these posted on the PTA site too, so you can get a look at these. So delighted with that. We'll get back to that in a minute. Okay, so I will stop my sharing for right now. And we have, as I said, on our, if you're interested in looking at any of the financials, that information is available also out on our website. We have a number of our PTA board members on the call with us today. So Suzanne Wright, Leslie, Stephanie, can't see, Andy is on. I can't see all of the members that we have on today, but you're welcome to reach out to any of us at any time if you have any matters that you'd like to discuss related to the PTA. So I think at this spot, Kyle, I don't know whether you have anything on back to school that you want to talk about briefly, and then we'll get into the high school curriculum topic.
Okay, yes, I don't want to take up too much time because I know we have the topic of curriculum and we have a lot of guest speakers here today, but I did want to just share that, of course, yesterday we had cohort A or B, excuse me, come, and tomorrow we have cohort A, and we're really excited. Of course, the change just in the building with the energy of the kids is just palpable. It was wonderful to see them. I think it went fairly smoothly. I know it's not as it had been in the past. In other words, there are lots of rules and regulations that we're following, and we really put those in place to make sure that that transition was smooth, and we'll see how things proceed and gauge when we can ease up, if at all, on some of those. For example, we have one-way passing in the A and the B and the Seaholm. Is that going to continue to be necessary as we move forward? We will assess and continue to assess, but safety is paramount to us, and so we wanted to make sure that our families felt safe in sending their students back to school, and that the teachers felt safe and the staff felt safe in having and welcoming those students back to school. So I believe that yesterday it went fairly smoothly. We have the teachers, they've been just working overtime in learning the technology, and we had actually very few glitches, but they're learning some of that technology and really trying to accomplish that goal of moving the kids who are remaining virtual with the kids who are coming back, and still creating that the goal of that one classroom environment. And so I appreciate the patience of everyone here as we navigate that. But I was really impressed. I tried to get into just about every class yesterday for just a second to welcome the students and to check on the teachers. And then tomorrow I will do the same. That was throughout the day. So I saw some students I saw repeatedly, but that was fine. And it was great. In fact, it was really just so much fun to see the students. And so I'm willing to answer any questions that you have about that. And maybe I mentioned to Julia, we could do that at the end if there are questions, so that the other speakers can share their topics and their thoughts on those topics with you. But I'm always open to questions and clarifying things for you. I can tell you just one piece of information that you might find interesting is that we checked with the attendance, and if it was taken correctly, because we know we changed codes a little bit, but we printed a report for the students yesterday who came in as present and face-to-face. And that was, there were 339 students, give or take, again, because sometimes, we might not have taken attendance completely accurately because of the new codes. So I would say somewhere around 350 students. And that is generally we're thinking more like 60-40, okay, of students who are planning to come back and students who are remaining remote. And remember that some students were selected hybrid, but they chose not to return and until sometime during this second trimester, and that makes complete sense. So we had the survey results that said it was going to be around 76, 77, 78% who said they were going to remain, or they were going to come back hybrid, and the others that were going to remain virtual. And so we actually ended up with, like I said, 60 probably, and we'll find out more tomorrow. Then we'll have a better idea of the entire cohort when we see both. But I would say that I appreciate all your patience here at home from the parents, as we are really trying to make sure that we have an optimal situation that allows the students who are staying at home and the students who are attending the best of the worlds they've chosen. And I really do appreciate the support of the staff and the teachers in making that magic happen. And so you can see, I think, over the next few weeks where we get a little bit more used to that new normal. And so thank you for everything. Thanks to the staff, and thanks to the parents for your patience. And I'll sit back and let the other staff members present to you. And again, I'll be here to answer any questions at the end. And if you ever want to reach out to me through email, I am behind. I have to admit, I'm behind in my email today, but I do answer, I believe, within 48 hours. And so if not, hold me to it and email me again. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Any thoughts from any of our teacher reps who are in the trenches the last day or two? Jane?
I echo everything Kyle said. It was an interesting experience yesterday, welcoming back a cohort of kids. And I had the double pleasure of getting to see all the ninth graders come back at orientation on Friday, that a couple of my colleagues, Steve, Claire, Jeremy, Barbara, and I, and the mentoring program gave the ninth graders a very modified introduction and orientation to our building. And so while that was very invigorating and exciting, I think I want to echo what Kyle said about patience, because I know for myself, I'm very overwhelmed. I feel like this is August all over again, maybe not August 2020, and August, where I am starting school again. And there are lots of new things that I got to figure out. And so while I'm super psyched to see my students, and I was pleased to see some more kids than I expected in some classes, fewer kids than I hoped in other classes, I think, as Kyle said, the attendance piece will kind of even out. But I think the people I know, the teachers I know, are excited, but also with that very nervous energy. And so definitely understanding that while we have, I feel like I finally got the whole virtual thing down, and now and I understand why we need to do this, but this is something very new for all of us, both young and old. And I kind of put myself in the middle there because I've been at Seaholm forever. But I'm still young, kind of. Anyway, so thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. It's still a lot of work, and we're working through it, and we're doing our best. And I think Kyle said it best, that we are really hoping for patience and grace as we are all navigating kind of these new waters in terms of how we teach and what we know is best practice for the kids, both on Zoom and in our classrooms.
Great, thank you, Jane.
I wanted to say, for the special ed teachers, the ASD teachers, we love being in person because we get to actually work hand on hand with our students. A lot of them need help with talking, using AAC, and we were so frustrated in the virtual realm because we couldn't get the students to communicate. So seeing them come in, they're all smiling, they're all happy. I've never had so much work done. These 2 days, the kids they want to be here. So they enjoy it. And then they're also, with all of our new technology, now we can actually Zoom with our virtual kids that are still at home due to health reasons. And the kids can really now interact because they can see their friends on the Clever Touch board. We can actually bridge that gap much nicer. So we
Great.
Your support and patience too.
That sounds wonderful. Thanks very much, Vicki. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to get into our focused conversation, which is high school curriculum. And again, I want to thank Kristy and David and Hallie for being here. The notion around this was that there's so many different options that our students have that they can take through Seaholm or through services that are available outside of Seaholm. And every student's got a different direction, and every teen's path is different. And so we really wanted to talk about what are those different paths, whether one chooses to go on to a traditional college for a 4-year degree or a 2-year associate's degree, or wants to do some type of a technical training There's just enormous resources available, and we wanted to really have a conversation about what path suits our teen, what path suits our children, and how to help them navigate that. And we really think it's important to have an understanding as freshmen and sophomores, as much as juniors and seniors, because at some point when you're a junior, it's getting a little late to decide it can be a little late, as a parent, I'll say, as to what your path is, or certainly as a senior, as you take a look at what path do I want to take, and there's so many wonderful resources out there available. So I'm going to first turn it over to Kristy Fekaris, who is the chair of the counseling department. Kristy will start, and then we will have David and Hallie both join in. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Julia. Welcome, everyone. I guess, Julia, can I share my screen? Is that possible?
Yep, you can.
Okay. All right, I'll do that in a moment. So I was asked to first come and answer scheduling questions, and then I got Julia's outline, and I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to combine some of these things because we got 3 speakers here tonight. So I'm going to do my best to combine. And if I miss anything, let me know, and I certainly will address it. And so with me tonight, I have Jen Vanderveen. Jen is the counselor for students with the last name L through P, and she's going to address a couple of topics as well. So it's really timely that we're talking about curriculum because we start our scheduling assemblies and we start scheduling for the 2021-22 school year. And it's hard to believe, but the process starts in January. So actually next Wednesday, we will be meeting with the students. We will be meeting with 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students at Seaholm, but we're also at Derby and BCS. In fact, I'm at BCS this Friday. So the process is starting. The course catalog is live. We launched it right before winter break. So all the departments went, we work with the department chairs and the teachers to update all the course descriptions and make sure everything is updated and relevant and ready to go. So there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into the course catalog. And next Wednesday, I'm going to show you exactly what I do with your students because I have 3 children and I would ask them, hey, I read in e-news, your counselor was, talking about scheduling, and my kids, my 3 would always be like, yeah, they didn't do anything. I didn't learn anything. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I did not get any answers from my own children. So I'm glad I have a captured audience here and I can show you what the counselors show the kids. So we always start with the curriculum. And so I go through the 5 cores: English, math, science, social studies, and world language. And for instance, if I'm in front of a group of sophomores, I go to the first page of each curricular area. It's a nice visual, it's a chart, and it shows them their sequence, their path. And so for instance, a student that's sitting today in an English 10, the natural progression for them for next year would be English 11. A flexi would continue in flex. And if they're in honors English 10, the natural progression would be AP Lang. But I also mentioned to the students that while you're in English 10 A and B, if you're doing really well and you want to challenge yourself and consider taking an AP class, it's something you want to talk with your current English teacher or an English teacher that you have a relationship with. So it can be a teacher from 9th grade, and that's fine as well. As a staff, the last 2 staff meetings, I have mentioned to the staff, just a reminder, and I have followed up with email, and I've discussed this with the department chairs at our administrator meetings, the importance for the teachers to talk about the classes within their department and explain to the kids what's next. What are the options? What's a good fit? Quite often a teacher might say, hey, if you're consistently earning A's in my class, you may want to challenge yourself and take an honors level next year. Not an A here or there, a consistent A in my class or a high B. And they give the students some direction. I love when Marissa Olszewski talks to the kids about A-Push. She would actually go into the world history classes and talk to the students about the commitment of A-Push, the level of reading, the amount of reading, and the kind of homework and commitment an A-Push class involves, because it's their first opportunity to possibly take a college level course. So the counselors will do this next Wednesday in a Zoom setting with their alpha breakdown, and we start with the core areas. And it's just an example of how to follow your sequence. The course catalog is 100 pages, and the kids need to earn 28 credits to graduate. They have an opportunity to earn 30. And so there's a little buffer there of 4 classes, 2 credits or 4 classes, but we are an academic institution. And as counselors, it is our responsibility to make sure students graduate. We have lots of responsibilities, but right here for academics and curriculum, we need to make sure students are placed appropriately and they graduate on time. So it's our job as we meet with students each year to make sure they're on track for graduation. They're placed at a level where they're going to be successful. And then we have a conversation in our small group or one-on-one meetings based on the format for the year about their aspirations. Do they have any idea what they want to study? Do they have any idea colleges they may consider applying to? It gives us an idea as far as level of competitiveness, what kind of classes we should schedule them for, what do the colleges want to see. The core is always safe, and there are over 4,000 post-secondary institutions. There's absolutely no way the counselors can memorize the admissions requirements for all those institutions. So we always tell the kids, you have this draft list, these colleges you're considering applying to. You need to go to their website and go to admissions. On every institution's website, they have under their admissions the high school curriculum they would like to see, GPA requirements, weighted and unweighted or one or the other, any test requirements. And so they give the student and families that information. And so we always advise students in our scheduling, small group scheduling meetings to start looking at that information.
Kristy, a question for you.
Yes.
How or when would a student be introduced to a non-traditional college? When would they think about maybe college isn't for me? And I know Hallie will talk about this later.
Right,
But I might
right.
want to do something that's as a technical. I might want to be trained as an electrician or as a plumber. How does
Excellent.
that get
Yeah.
introduced? Yeah.
Excellent. Yep. So last year, every year we have Oakland Schools Technical Center. They're represented one way or another. So last year we actually physically had them with us during scheduling assemblies, and they presented to the current 10th and 11th graders because it is an upper junior senior level program. So they presented the programs to the students. This year it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be sharing open house information with them, and it will be in a Zoom format, but we've tried a number of things. We have bus students there for showcases. We did that for a couple of years. We've had parent nights with OSTC. Last year I liked it. I thought it worked really well having them physically present in our building with scheduling assemblies. We just can't do that this year. They're dealing with their own hybrid situation and trying to navigate in person with all their programs and whatnot. But we will be sharing open house information with them. And so we've also included, I'm glad you brought that up, Julia, because during the parent nights, we have made an effort to make sure we have information included about military, about different, going right into industry certifications, other options, gap year. And then also I want to be sure I always provide information about finances, meaning that I don't want there to be a financial barrier for any kind of application, test, anything like that, the family needs to reach out to the counselor, family, student, just let us know and we can get them connected with resources. So we've really tried to embed those things in our parent night presentations. And like I said, ideally OTEC would be with us tonight, but or with scheduling, but they're not. And I know Hallie's going to talk about it a little bit more. And I also, Jen is our OSTC rep, and she'll chime in with some information as well.
Great.
So let me just scroll down because I know you mentioned that you wanted me to focus a little bit on 9th and 10th grade. And so I will be going over to BCS Friday. The rest of the counselors, we're all going to be at Derby all day Monday in the science classrooms, showing them sample schedules like this. And you may remember this. I as an 8th grade parent, or the 8th grade parent orientation night, I showed 2 examples of what a non-flex schedule could look like. Here's what a flex schedule could look like, and talk them through. I'm going to scroll up a little bit just to show you maybe more in a linear fashion. You have 15 slots, and basically the 9th grade year is prescribed. It's pretty set. If you look at the requirements that are placed here, there's 1 opening, okay? Now, students don't have to take their speech, personal fitness, and computer tech in 9th grade. We encourage them because we want them to open up their schedule, particularly junior, senior year, because they may want to double up in a curricular area. I love when Hallie says they may want to try on a career. I love that little saying that they want to explore career options, or they may need to retake a course, or the APs, many of them are 3 trimesters, and we need more time in their schedule when they're able, because a lot of those classes are geared for 11th and 12th grade. So I need to have their schedule open. So we try to knock out these grad requirements more in 9th and 10th grade. Now I've shaded, and I don't know if you really can see it, like 6 slots. So this would be for our flexies. I love flex. I'm a huge proponent. I think most families know that when I present it. You can see here, flex is a choice, and it's an amazing choice, and it's great for some of our students. And that will knock out our English and our social studies requirements. We cover the information regarding flex in a couple different formats. First of all, we'll present it to our 8th graders when we go over there. So when I go over there Friday or next Monday, I will be explaining the flex program, the honors level, the mixed grades, the interdisciplinary, the curriculum, the teacher format, what a day looks like, that kind of stuff. We also host a separate little parent info session for anyone. It's actually for parents and students, and it's right before that 8th grade orientation night. It's usually about an hour, and it's right before, and it's dedicated to anyone that's exploring flex, the honors flex program. And then of course, like community open houses, and sometimes we get requests for shadowing and things like that. So it's something else we introduce when we meet with new families and when we're meeting with small groups. But those are some of the ways we would introduce flex and core, I would say, to focus on, because quite often in 9th and 10th grade, they're knocking out requirements. Based on that, in our conversations regarding scheduling, other classes like electives, and if you know my background, I come from a business background, so I'm a strong proponent of electives. And I'd like to see balance. I'd like for students to have balance in their life. I want them to be healthy and happy and successful. And so I always encourage my students that are wanting to do all cores, I want them to have a breather. I want them to have something that helps balance their schedule when possible. So in our scheduling conversations, we talk about balance, and we talk about pursuing passions and exploring things here in the high school level before they go on to college, where it gets very costly, or when they get into a some kind of certification industry type program where it just gets costly. So let's get that exposure. Let's see if the interest truly lies there while you're in high school. Julie, I'm trying to stick to your outline. I want to make sure I don't miss anything here. So I hope I touched a little bit about and our curriculum, how in general, how we present it to students, colleges. It's really important during the scheduling meetings to get an idea of what the student's thinking, because it does help us with their planning and the kind of classes they should be signing up for. And again, because we are an academic institution, we always want to make sure that they're meeting the grad requirements, because BPS, it was decided a long time ago. This is the knowledge, the skills, the experiences we want all our students to have. And that's, by meeting the graduation requirements. I'm going to turn it over to Jen, and I asked Jen to chime in if I miss something, because sometimes I miss really big points, and I don't want to miss it here tonight. And I want to make sure you got all the information. So I know, Jen, you were going to briefly bring up some dual enrollment points and maybe a little bit OSTC. And I know Hallie's probably going to finish it up, and we got David here as well too. So I'm going to stop and turn it over to Jen.
Hello. So as far as dual enrollment goes, most of our students who are dual enrolled, which I believe this year we have right around 5 or 6, it generally is in a few areas that students have exhausted the curriculum. So an example would be if a student is taking Calc BC as a junior, which is pretty much our highest level of math, and then they need to go on and have math their senior year. Sometimes they would go and take it at college, at a local college, whether it's Lawrence Tech or OCC or Oakland, something along those lines. Art classes where a student is, very involved in the art program with Hallie and Liz and is considering an art career. Sometimes I have a couple actually at CCS or English. Those are generally the 3 situations where students have exhausted the Seaholm curriculum, but we have such a rich, curriculum program, and there's so many classes in our catalog, and we're so lucky that generally students are able to stay and oftentimes want to take more classes that they don't even have a chance to fit in, like Kristy was saying, just because of requirements and then trimesters and everything like that. There are some things to consider when you think about dual enrollment, which would be number 1, transportation and the time of day that this class happens. And so the students are still required to be, at Seaholm during the day. And so all my kids, if they're in, or any of our kids who are in dual enrolled classes, they do it in the evening. Have to be able to drive there. They need to be mature enough to be able to to be sitting in a classroom at OCC, and there could be students who are, 19 or 20 next to them, or quite frankly, who are in their 40s or 50s, who are going back and, doing, a career switch. And also just many of our students are so involved after school in school sports or, clubs or activities or things that aren't even related to Seaholm. It takes up a lot of time. And, like Kristy said, we want our kids to be balanced. We want them to be having fun and relaxing and doing the things they enjoy apart from academics. And so, getting in the car and driving to Oakland University for a class might cut into other activities that we want kids to have, plus all the homework that they have. So it's a real time commitment.
Jen, I'm going to pop in for just a minute because sometimes parents don't know what dual enrollment means. I didn't, and I had a parent ask me earlier. So dual enrollment is generally for your junior or a senior when you choose to take a class that is offered at a college, at a university. Could be Oakland University, could be Lawrence, could be U of M Dearborn, any university, and you would pay a slight difference as to the credit hours. So a portion of it is covered by BPS and a portion of it you cover. But to Jen's point, you get college credit for that, depending on the grade that you get. What I found interesting as a parent, and this may or may not shift, Jen, you may know this, as COVID goes away and we're back to in-person entirely. But I know my daughter took 2 dual enrollment classes because they were online. And she could do the courses asynchronous. And that really was a wonderful experience for her. You're right, the load is a little bit different, and so one needs to know that it fits their level. But I think that maybe as things go forward, more online teaching, and I know David will talk about what's offered online already, but I think it'll be interesting to see what next year brings and whether in fact students will have more opportunity to do dual enrollment as an online class. And to your point, if it's asynchronous, then they can kind of fit it into their schedule as it plays out and it doesn't quite interfere with some of the sports things. So I think that turned out to be interesting with COVID this past year at least.
And as far as getting the credit for college, that depends on the receiving institution.
Correct.
So not every college necessarily will take the credit. Some will. Some kids use it, quite frankly, for rigor. Some use it because, like I said, they've exhausted the curriculum. And some, quite frankly, have the 5 classes that they have, it's just fits every single student a bit differently. And so that's why it's important. And like Kristy said, when we're talking with our students, we generally know if it's coming down the pipe. If I have a student who's exhausted, you know, who's in AP laying as a sophomore or something like that, I know that they're most likely going to take that you know, path. And so it's really important that we talk to our kids about their interests and sort of how we see that happening. And like Julia mentioned, also the amount that the state covers changes. And so whatever the difference would be, the parents would be responsible for. And that's all like decided at the state level for public schools. And so the other thing I wanted to talk about is just, and you know, Hallie can kind of take it from there, would be OTEC. And so I am the OTEC rep, and we currently have at Seaholm. I work really closely with Craig Kolb over at Groves, and also Barb Dean in special ed, and we sort of work together as a trio. We have about 12 or 15 kids at Seaholm in OTEC, and it's an amazing program for the right kid, for the right fit. And like I said, Kristy, you know, like Kristy said, we had Angie Hallie came out and talked to the kids last year, and it was wonderful. And I think it garnered a lot of interest. And because it was pre-COVID, parents could then go to the parent information, and you know, it was wonderful. And so I think that it's still going to be, you know, information nights are going to happen. There's actually one, I think, on the website. It's tomorrow, the 21st. For Southeast, which is us in Royal Oak. That's where our kids go. That's where our kids are transported to through the bus. And, you know, it can be the right fit for a student who's interested in the programs that are available. And they have a wonderful website. There's so many programs, and the website's very, very thorough. And it also can cover some credits that the students might need help with, meaning sometimes if they can have their third year of science be with OTEC. And so if it's a student who maybe isn't going to be on the path to going to a four-year college and they want to cover some of their science credits with OTEC, they can, as long as they're on track to graduate. They have to be able, this isn't a credit recovery program. This is a program that is helping students who are interested in different things that, I can describe what OTEC is. And so OTEC is Oakland Technical Educational. Hallie, you might need to help me because I always just call it OTEC.
Oakland Schools Technical Campus.
Yeah.
Oakland Schools Technical Campus.
And Hallie, I think we're going to have to show some slides, or the website. I think Hallie, you.
I am.
Okay. I'm going to just pass it on over then.
Okay.
And I put the website in the chat.
Great.
The link, the URL.
Great. So Hallie, did I make you a co-host? You're on mute.
I'm able to share my screen, so you must have.
You are able. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Did you want me to start from here?
Yes, please.
Okay,
Go
I'm
ahead
sorry.
and
I didn't want to
screen,
cut.
that'd be great. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about career and technical education. And I just want to make sure that everybody's able to see my screen.
Looks good.
Okay. So my name is Hallie Snyder. I'm the coordinator for career-focused education for the district. And this is a passion of mine. Just like Kristy said, we were both business teachers at one time. So I think we both have a love for the area. But I want to, oops, for some reason, talk a little bit about what career and technical education is, because I think it's kind of misunderstood quite often. When I was going to school as a high school student, we had vocational education. And it was really kind of this idea that you were either going to go to a college or you were going to go and get some training, and then you were going to go out and get a job. Those were the kind of the two paths that you could take. And then things tightened up, and there was a kind of imaging of what vocational education should really look like. And out of that came career and technical education. The difference is that career and technical education is about high skill, which a lot of those positions could be high skill, but these are high skill, high wage, high demand career areas. So there are jobs out there, they're begging for people. Students can earn really high wages in these career areas, and it requires high skill. So completely different than what sometimes vocational education was when I was a kid. So what is career and technical education? Because that can be quite different. So I'm going to talk a little bit about CTE programming. And career and technical education are basically a sequence of classes that help students take their career and educational interests and prepare them for their post-secondary experience, whatever that experience may be. Some may do a technical school. Some may choose to go to a 2-year Oakland Community College. Some may choose to go to a 4-year institution. Some may choose to go to Harvard. It's not for a specific student, it's for all students. So these are the benefits of career and technical education. First of all, like Kristy said before, it's a chance to try on a career area, try on some things and see what interests that you have. And like Kristy said as well, it's a chance to do it when you're not paying for college courses to do that. And hopefully, if you try on the right career areas, you might develop a passion. And that passion can help students be successful, not only in their core content areas, but also as they go to college and work through that piece as well, or trade school or whatever additional training that they choose to do. A lot of the courses that are career and technical education courses are hands-on. They tend to be project-based with project-based learning activities and assessments. The majority of our CTE programs that we offer in-house have field trips. We have a lot of fantastic field trips to get kids out into business and industry. There are leadership activities and clubs associated with all of our programs. Student competitions. So we have DECA, which is a marketing program. So for students who really take off in the marketing program, we have a student competition or leadership organization really that's focused around DECA. And then First Robotics and OKRA are both around our engineering programs, and esports is around our computer programming program. So there's business and industry collaboration for all of our programs. Each one of our CTE programs are required to have at least 2 advisory committee meetings a year with business and industry leaders. What we do is we have those leaders come in, we talk about our curriculum, we show them our labs, and we talk about what are the trends that are happening in business and industry right now. What are things that are happening in the future? What kinds of things do we need to expose students to in our curriculum to really expand their opportunities in that particular career area? And then are there new pieces of equipment that we need to purchase? Are there things that we need to add to our labs to make it more a stronger program? So we're constantly having those meetings to look to develop those programs even stronger. We also offer work-based learning experiences for students. So after they've completed a program, say they'd like to go to work in that business or industry, they could get a job where they actually would work part of their day or after school if they chose to in that field area. So we'll work with them to do that. We have coordinators who actually help students get placed in those career experiences. They also offer free college credit through articulation agreements. So every one of our programs has at least 1 to 3 credit hours of articulated credit with a college or university in the state. And that's for students who complete the CTE program. So we have 17 career clusters that have been identified nationally. And those are all listed there. The ones that are in red are those that are offered in Birmingham Public Schools. So either at Seaholm or at Groves. And because we have the bus that goes back and forth between the 2 schools, our students are able to take advantage of any of those programs. The ones that are in the blue color,
I mean,
those
this
are
is
those
really
that are
amazing.
also offered at the Oakland Schools Technical Campus.
Wow.
Sorry, Julia, did you?
I'm just saying, I didn't know this was, I mean, this is really something. I wonder if all the students know that this is out there. I mean, these are pretty incredible opportunities for career. I'm just really impressed with the opportunity that it presents to the students.
Yeah, I've really been working hard at trying to get as much information out as possible because I do think that a lot of people aren't aware. And I also think it comes from parents sometimes. I mean, when you talk about free college credit, I can tell students that and they're like, yeah, okay. I tell a parent that and they're like, wait, what? It's just different. So, but yeah, this is a document that we have at Seaholm. And this is basically, it can be a little confusing when you first look at it, because in the far left-hand corner are the career and technical education programs that are offered through Seaholm or Groves High Schools. And so the programs are listed here along the left column. If you look at the right column, those are the courses that make up the program. So I'm going to use business management as an example. For a student to be in the business management CTE program and to be a completer in that program, they would need to take business foundations in grades 9 through 12, any of those grade levels. They would need to take business law, which is offered to grades 10 through 12, and a career focus class, which is offered 9 through 12. If they complete all of those classes, they would become a completer of the CTE program of business management. One that can be a little confusing is marketing. If you look at marketing, it's the larger pink area. The way that students would do that is they would take a class from tier 1, a class from tier 2, and a class from tier 3. The main content, the marketing content is the same, but the way that we deliver it's different. So if you're somebody who's really excited about fashion merchandising, you'd learn that curriculum in tier 2 through fashion merchandising. But maybe you're thinking sports and entertainment marketing might be more interesting. So then you might choose the sports and marketing tier 2 course. So just kind of gives you an idea of that. That's the one program that's offered in tiers. It's also our largest CTE program that we have in our schools. I can tell you that business management and architecture are the 2 programs that are offered at Groves. The other ones are offered at Seaholm. So a student who wanted to do architecture could take the bus back and forth so that they'd be able to fulfill those classes as well. Again, to become a completer, you complete those classes, but to get the articulated college credit, students need to earn at least a C in each one of those classes. That would be the important piece. There's also just the opportunity to try some classes on. So I could choose as a freshman to take business foundations. That doesn't mean I have to take business law and career focus. It doesn't mean I have to be a completer in the class. It just gives me an opportunity to try a course on. Or maybe I try it on and I go, you know what? It's not really my thing, but I'm kind of interested in architecture. I'd like to see what that's like. Then you could take an architecture elective class. But if you find you take that architecture class and you love it, then here's an opportunity to spend more time in that field and become a CTE completer and have the benefits of CTE, including that free articulated college credit.
So Haley, are these courses offered within the building in Seaholm or in
Yes,
Groves?
every one of these programs. I'm just specifically talking about what's in-house at Seaholm or Groves. Okay. Every program and every class listed here is offered at Seaholm or at Groves. And the only pieces that are really offered at Groves are the architecture program and the business management program. All the other programs are offered either at both schools or they're offered at Seaholm.
And then the Oakland County Technical Campus is a separate campus with a different set of courses that are available there. Is that correct?
And I'll go to that next. Were there any questions on this document though? Because it can get kind of confusing when you look at the classes. What I really want you to know is anything listed as a course, any student can pop into those classes, take those classes individually. You don't have to be part of a CTE program to do that. So if your student doesn't have 3 elective spots open to be a completer in a program, and maybe they just want to try some things on, here's an opportunity to do that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So I'm going to probably repeat a little bit of what Jen said, but Oakland Schools Technical Campus is another opportunity for career and technical education programs. It's a little different. First of all, it's offered to students in grades 11 and 12. They have 1- and 2-year programs. And students spend about half of their day at the Oakland Schools Tech campuses. Now this is non-COVID times, but that's normally what they would do. And so there has to be some planning that goes into place. Kristy shared with you the amount of courses that students need to take to fulfill the graduation requirements. So you'd have to do some planning if this was an option that you wanted to take advantage of. There are credit exchanges like Jennifer had mentioned, so that students have an opportunity to fulfill some of their high school graduation requirements with some of the CTE programs, but they would want to talk directly with their counselor when it comes to that. And I really feel like the sooner the better. So if an 8th grade parent is looking at this, I think that's the perfect time to start making those plans, because then you start to look at how do I free up those elective hours so that my student is able to do that. Maybe I take a class in this during summer school, their 9th grade year, so that they're able to free up some elective space. Those are all options. So again, students can earn college credit. It has the same benefits as any CTE program. It's just at the Oakland Schools Tech Campus. And like Kristy said, there's a bus that goes back and forth. We have AM and PM buses that go back and forth between the tech campuses and the high school. And there are, because they're there so much time, there are more opportunities to earn industry licenses and certifications. So although we're working to do that as well, we only have students for 3 to 4 electives. They have students for half day for the whole year. So they're able to do some of those pieces. And some of the areas that they cover are more directly related to those industries that provide licenses and certifications. So I'm going to go to my link, but last time I did this, it did not take me to the Tech Center website. Did it this time?
No.
I'm still at PowerPoint
screen.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to go to the website and share again.
Okay.
So this is the Oakland Schools Tech Campus website. We go to the Southeast Campus, which is the one that is in Royal Oak, although we do have some students who take cosmetology at the Northwest Campus or the Northeast Campus. But just like Jennifer said, there is a career night that's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and it's a virtual career night, which is really nice. And here are the programs that are offered at the Tech Campus. So it gives you an idea of the different programs. I know ServSafe is a culinary arts and hospitality certifications that students can earn. And that's something that they offer there. There are some certifications around automotive technology. So students are able to earn some of those things in some of those programs, which can be helpful if they start to go out and look for positions. There's a lot of opportunities here for work-based learning as well. A lot of business and industries connect with tech centers because they have a group of students who are focusing on their career areas. And then there are opportunities to partner with them. And then I'm just going to click here at where it says, please visit this website for the Tech Campus, the open house. And I thought this was really nicely done, which is why I'm going to quickly share it. And this is really talking about tomorrow night. You actually can go through and click on which career night session that you want to attend. And all you do is click on the box and scroll down. And then you click on the Zoom meeting that relates to the area that you're interested in. And they're doing 3 different sessions. So it's a chance for you to really explore some of those different careers. So if you have a student who would be interested in that, I think that's an awesome opportunity.
Haley, I think it would be great if there's a if you could send something to me. We could try to post something on the PTA Facebook page. Sure. For tomorrow night. I'm not sure whether Andy already has, because I thought I saw something come across, but if you've got something else that we should post, we could send something. We could send something out on the Facebook page as well.
Okay.
For people to be able to connect and see that. That would be great. Thank you.
Will do. And then show this again. Sorry, I got to get back to where I was. And then just quickly, I just think that sometimes pictures are worth 1,000 words. So these are students in some of our programs. The first young man in that picture is from our game design program in IT. And he's actually developed a game where he has a ship that lifts off, has to hold a certain orbit, and then has to land in the same spot. And I have to tell you, I was so impressed with the amount of science that young man had to use, physics, to create that game. It was pretty impressive. The group of young men on the right-hand side at the top are from our esports teams. We've had esports the last few years, and we've had really successful teams. At the bottom, the first picture on the left is a business plan that some of our marketing students did. In the middle, a Ford field trip that our students in marketing went on. I'm trying to think of the sports and entertainment. Thank you. Sports and entertainment class. The students went to Ford Field and did a field trip. And then there's 2 young ladies there that are in the engineering program who were programming the robotic arm. And then we have a young man in the upper corner. These are all CTE programs that are at Seaholm or Groves High Schools. He's actually programming a CNC machine. And then we had 3 young ladies who are participating in robotics. Robotics, again, is a an activity that students can do. They don't have to be part of the engineering CTE program, but it is a club that we offer at the school, and but is directly related to engineering too. And just as a side note, the little girl in the middle there is my daughter, who is planning to go to a high-end four-year school. She'd like to go to Purdue. She's also in the engineering CTE program, and she's also participates in robotics. And the reason I share that is because I think sometimes people feel like if I'm going to go into engineering and I want to go to a strong school, then I can't participate in CTE programs or in some electives. And I think that there is an opportunity to do both. And then at the bottom, there's some architecture software that we use in that program. And then Mr. Hallie is standing with a student and her display board for one of our student competitions for architecture. So I just wanted to share a couple pictures too.
Thank you. That's outstanding. Thank you very much. That's great coverage on CTE and OSTC. Thank you. Thank you very much, Hallie and Jen, on doing that. So I think our last topic, and thank you, David, is on online learning and all of the options that there are with the online learning. I know there's a little bit of confusion sometimes because we're online learning right now, but this is quite different. This is available when we're not in COVID, and so David, I'm gonna turn it over to you. As I said, David Brooks is the principal for the virtual learning school, as well as the Lincoln Street Alternative. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Julia. Good evening, everybody. It was a dangerous time period. Back in March, when the pandemic hit, and I had the title of principal of BPS Virtual Learning, my email was exploding. And I think I'll be able to clarify today for you in January of 2021 what my role with virtual learning is versus what you might see or hear with virtual learning in Birmingham and words like synchronous and asynchronous and all these are all of our new favorite buzzwords that we've heard over the past year. So I'll clarify my role here with that in just a second. But my primary role, and I won't spend a ton of time on this, but it's important for me to note that I am the principal at Lincoln Street Alternative High School. And for those of you that don't know, Lincoln Street is located inside of Seaholm and the garden level at Seaholm, and it services both Seaholm and Grove students. Students come to Lincoln Street for a variety of different reasons. It could be the student is struggling with school, becomes credit deficient, and needs a credit recovery program to get back on track. It could be just a student needs a smaller environment, a school within a school, to not be lost in the fray of a large high school setting, and they'll find more success at Lincoln Street. If you're ever walking in Seaholm, and you're over by the media center, you'll see a little sign hanging up on the right by the vending machine that says Lincoln Street Alternative. You go down those little stairs and we are right there. So that's important for me to note because that's a new role. Both of these roles are new for me as I started in January of 2020. I've been in the district for about 10 years and was most recently the assistant principal at Berkshire Middle School in the district. And now I've had this opportunity to learn these two new roles. So that's just a little bit about Lincoln Street. But what I really wanted to talk about tonight are the virtual learning options that exist. And when I say virtual learning, what I'm actually talking about when it comes to my role. So within Birmingham schools and really all school districts in Michigan under the 21F law, we have access to provide students with course offerings from a variety of different providers that are third-party providers and are not necessarily Birmingham teachers. They're not Birmingham teachers, but they are Michigan certified teachers. Probably the most popular name that if I say first, you're like, oh, I've heard of that, would be Michigan Virtual. You've maybe seen the commercials or have heard it on the radio. They're very busy, as you could imagine, this school year. But we also use different providers like Peak, or it's called Fuel Education, Edgenuity, Edmentum, and there's a whole slew of other providers as well. But those seem to be the four that we use the most. You know, I'm still fairly new to this role. So as we learn and students are taking courses through different providers, we kind of start to pick and choose of different platforms that we feel like serves our BPS students best at Seaholm and Groves and where they're finding the most success, the most user-friendly type of platforms. And so there are other providers as well that we have access to, but those tend to be the four that we use most often. I would say the biggest perk of these classes, and I'll explain kind of how this works in the next slide with a student schedule and what this actually means if I'm a Groves or a Seaholm student that takes one of these online classes through a third-party provider, and how that works into a 5-period day. But I would say the coolest thing that I've experienced so far, and I just simply listed some classes that kids right now are currently taking at either Groves or Seaholm this trimester. And so there's some unique course offerings and some offerings that our high schools already offer. And I'll share once again on the next slide about sometimes why this can be an option. Although my preference is to have students in the classroom with Birmingham teachers, because I know that that's where they're served best with highly qualified Birmingham teachers. I want to just more so speak to this as another option if it doesn't fit into a student's schedule or what have you. So I'll speak to that in a second. But you can see just by looking at this slide, we have students that Hallie just talked about game design. There's a lot of different computer programming classes, sports entertainment marketing. She just spoke about hospitality and tourism, a lot of different offerings that are out there, Latin, German, that are offered as well. And one of the stories that I shared with Julia in preparation for the meeting that I thought was kind of cool to see is and I didn't know this as the person who enrolls students in these classes, and I'll go over the process here and how you even get into a class like this towards the end of my presentation. But what I ended up finding out is there was a cohort of like 4 friends at Groves, and they all are very into computer programming, and I kind of caught onto it in the second trimester because they are taking the same sort of pathway of computer programming classes and found a lot of success they're using the Peak platform. And so they're all friends, they're interested in the same stuff, and they collaborate on this sort of stuff. And it's been a pathway for them to have access to these courses, which has been really cool to see. So like I mentioned before, all these courses have Michigan certified teachers. They're not Birmingham teachers. They're through third-party providers. The courses are all free of cost to families as long as it's part of the student's 5-period day. So if I'm a student at Seaholm, and the core classes are also offered. I should note that it's not just for electives. Most core classes, from integrated math to English to world history, US history, you name it, the basic core classes, they're available as well. And where I've seen that be an option in working with the counselors is, if there's a student that has a very packed schedule and they're at a point where they need a health class and it's just not available in the period that works in their schedule for a trimester, this becomes an option to take a class online through a third-party provider to be able to meet a graduation requirement, even if it is offered at the high school. But I would say the main draw for some students is it creates some flexibility within the school day. The courses are all asynchronous. And so that's one of our favorite buzzwords of 2020 that we've all become accustomed to. There's no live instruction. And so everything is self-paced, and that calls on a specific type of learner. I have found through this process in the last year that sometimes students feel like it would be really nice to not have to maybe sit in a class, and taking an online class maybe sounds easier or like less work. But in gathering feedback from Seaholm and Grove students, really these classes are a lot of work, and they're very rigorous, and they can be very challenging. And so with all of that being said, it's really important that we get the right type of student that is able to plan with the assistance of an adult. And I'll talk about that in a second, but also be able to stay on top of things, and knowing that if I have classes at Seaholm first, second, third, and fourth hour, and I have an online class 5th hour, well, I don't technically have a teacher that I'm reporting to. So that's on me. I don't have to work on it 5th hour every day. I could work on it in the evening at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock once I'm able to recharge my batteries and refocus with school. But it's important that, along with the support of the parents, counselors, myself, and the mentor teacher, that we all help to support students and really stay on track and keep pace with this. Because even our high achieving students can, they can put off this work because it's not something they necessarily see every day, and then try to cram it all in at the end. So it's just that progress monitoring piece is super important. I can't reiterate that enough. we do assign, so any student who takes one of these third-party classes, they are assigned a BPS mentor teacher, and that's part of my role. So what that mentor teacher does is checks in weekly with students and helps make sure that there aren't questions about the platform or technical issues, those sort of things. But in addition to that, they're helping with that progress monitoring. They're downloading the grade book from a class and saying, are you aware of, because if you ask a student how much work, are you aware of how much work you have to do? They might say something like, I know I'm going to do units 2 and 3 this weekend, but we really map it out for them to say, okay, here are the assignments within that unit. What days are you planning on doing it? Tell me what your calendar is going to look like. So that's what that mentoring piece is for. But what it's not for is, it's not, like I have a science teacher, for example, that is a mentor teacher for a student taking a math class. She's not math certified. So that mentor teacher is not like a BPS teacher that's going to help with the content or the curriculum necessary that the teacher from that platform is. And so those teachers from the different platforms are available via email. They will do these sort of Zoom calls or office hours, as you call them, very similar to what we do in Birmingham for X Block, and they do provide support for students, but a lot of it is done through email as well. So that's something to keep in mind, that there is not live instruction and that the teacher is accessible via the web, but we don't have full control over what that looks like or when a teacher is available because they're not Birmingham teachers, but the support is there. I'm going to go to my last slide here about what the actual process is, and then I want to make sure that I'm able to answer any questions that anybody has. So probably the biggest question I get is, what is this class available, and where do I go? How do I figure out if it's there? It's confusing. The easiest way to do this is I would stick with the 4 providers that I've listed. There are others, like I said, and you're welcome to explore those as well. But these 4 in particular, if you were to go to their website, their course offerings are listed there. But keep in mind that some of these classes, especially this year, and I didn't run into this last year when I first started the role, but with the pandemic and the high need for online classes, the reality is that a student could expect to take a class from a third-party provider, and then when I go to request enrollment, it may sit there for a few days, and I may end up finding out that enrollment was denied because there wasn't a teacher available or the class was too filled. So there are some of those nuances that I just ask people to be patient with and flexible with, and the counselors are all really, really outstanding to work with as well, to make sure that we're all speaking the same language and on the same page. But if a child is interested in taking an online class through a third-party provider, do the basic background research of what's out there, what's available, talk with your counselor about taking that class. There is some paperwork and a form that goes along with that, and different agreements that are important to review. As a parent, you want to review that with the student because it speaks a lot about that independent learning piece and what that actually means. And I'm always available too. I'm available by email. I'll talk to you. I'm trying to make myself as accessible as possible. On my end, it's easy if a student wants to know if there's a sports entertainment class that's available, I can search that on my end and tell you if there's an opening, or at least what it's showing me. So, I work very closely with the counselors, but the first point person should be the counselor, and then they work with me to make sure that there's an opening and that it will work with the student schedule. The one question that I didn't put in here that I'm just thinking could be confusing for a parent is, so let's say I have a student that's taking a second hour online class, and I'm in person, and I go to first hour. I don't have a teacher second hour, but then I'm expected to be in class third, fourth, and fifth hour. Where do I go? In the past, before the pandemic, there is a computer lab at Seaholm dedicated to where these students will physically report each day in the garden level in Lincoln Street. There is a computer lab that's available right now. with students returning, and I've worked closely. Thank you, Kyle, was outstanding to work with in terms of shifting some things around of where students would go. But students right now who are taking online classes are reporting to the media center if they're an in-person student to work on this class. But typically in any other time, they would report to the computer lab. And the expectation is that they come there. We do take attendance each day. And that's just another way for us as well. A lot of our mentor teachers are the ones who monitor those labs, and so they're a little bit more accessible to those students as well, to be able to do that mentoring piece in person too when it allows for it. So that is a mouthful of information. I'm happy if there's any questions or anything you guys would like me to clarify.
Thank you, Dave. That was terrific. And my daughter did take one of these online courses, and you are right. The load is not a small one, and the mentor is important, because I think to some degree it was a great opportunity, and she really enjoyed it. But you had to stay on path, and you had to stay on track with it for sure. So we're coming up to about quarter after. This has been a wonderful. I can't thank you all enough. The amount of resources that are available to our students, Kristy and Jennifer, Hallie and David, thank you so much, because it's incredible the type of opportunity that our students have. And I know as a parent, when my daughter was a freshman, I didn't know about all these different opportunities and these different paths. I was just talking with a friend of mine who was looking for options, and I think, Hallie, some of what you've provided would be right up the alley of where she wants her son to have some opportunity to do more technical training. So really appreciate this. If there's any questions by anybody who's on, we will post this. This will be available for parents and students to look on the PTA website. Actually, Kristy and Hallie, if you can send me your slides, we will add those to notes, and so those will be available for people to see as well, and we'll post that and make that available. Any questions on this topic, or for Kyle or Kristy, David, or Hallie on any of this? Any questions by anybody?
Good evening. This is Sandra Green. Thank you to all the presenters. Very informative, and appreciate the hard work. I do have an off-topic question. My son is getting ready to come into school tomorrow with the Clear to Go app. I completed the form, although a little bit late. So he's still having problems using that. Should he come to the office first thing in the morning, or should he stay home till we can try to figure out that tech glitch?
Yeah. No, send him to school. Okay, we can figure it out from here. So yeah, he should come to the main office or the assistant principal's office first thing, because his teacher will be expecting that, but we're happy to help him get that organized. We've had a couple glitches with that. That seems to be probably the number one problem that we've been experiencing coming in, and we'll work with you, and that's fine. Yeah, we can always do just ask the questions, okay, and then we'll figure out how to get that. But yes, absolutely, please be sure he comes in.
All right, and thank you everyone for your hard work. Much appreciated.
This is wonderful. This is terrific. Thank you all, everyone. So I don't think we have any questions in the chat. So I think we'll give everybody a few minutes back. Thank you all. I want to thank the teachers, the administration. I know the back to school is not a small effort for anybody, and obviously as we're coming into the new with scheduling, there'll be a lot of energy and trying to do it all again remotely. I know for the counseling department and David and Hallie, it's you can't quite get to the students the way we're used to. So really appreciate all the effort, and hopefully with this having this recording, we'll be able to make this available for parents and students if they can get informed a little bit more. Just a lot of great options. It's a lot I didn't know, and a lot of great opportunity for our students to have a broad curriculum to fit a lot of needs and a lot of options. So that's what's really terrific. So thank you all. Anything else? Okay, well, we'll wrap that up. Thank you again, everyone, and have a lovely evening.
Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
Julia. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Julia, just so you know, I did send you the Tech Campus information.
Perfect, and I forwarded that on, and we'll try to get that posted on our Facebook page. And then if you just want to send the slides, we'll have those out online as well.
I'll do that too. And
So
I
much.
did put my
Really
contact
appreciate your time.
Oh no, I enjoyed doing this. I really do. Thank you for inviting
It's been
me.
nice meeting you. I just didn't know all this was available, so I think it's just a lot to share, and it's really great.
I'm glad. I do share it with the counselors whenever we have our counselor meetings. So I'm trying to get that information out as much as possible. But again, you know, it's making
Yeah.
those great connections.
It's a lot to put on. It's a lot for students to kind of learn. And as you're coming in as a freshman or a sophomore, probably parents aren't always listening to it. But that's where I want to get the message out is to the freshmen and the sophomores, because I think you can start to think more broadly about what's out there for your student and what the opportunities are and where you can take additional courses and classes and so forth. That's just huge. I mean, the list of those things was just really impressive to me. Really
We're
impressive.
trying really hard to do more at the middle schools too, so to get kids to start to think about it then, because there's opportunities for